Say the word Pitbull. What comes to mind? For a lot of people, it's a dangerous, unpredictable villain. For others, it's a loyal, loving victim of a terrible history. But what if the real story isn't that simple? The truth is, Pitbull isn't just one breed. It's a label we stick on a whole group of dogs, and each one has a totally unique story. Today, we're digging into the distinct histories of 7 of these types, both breeds and historic bloodlines, to get to the truth. Are they villains by nature, or have they been victimized by a past they never asked for? Let's find out. Before we get started, consider subscribing to our pet-loving community for more insights on dog breeds, myths, and misinformation that circulates in the pet community. Let's spread the word about this powerful breed. To understand these dogs, you have to go back to 19th century England, Scotland, and Ireland. This is where the story for all Pitbull-type dogs kicks off, and it's a story written in blood. The Pitbull's ancestors were a cross between the Old English Bulldog and various terriers. This wasn't about creating a family pet. It was a deliberate recipe for the brutal blood sports of bull baiting and bear baiting. Breeders wanted to mix the sheer power of the bulldog with the fiery, agile, and game spirit of the terrier. That's a relentless, never-quit attitude. The result was a dog perfectly engineered for the fighting pit. In fact, the name Pitbull is believed to come directly from those arenas. When the British Parliament passed the Cruelty to Animals Act in 1835, bull baiting was outlawed. But the cruelty didn't end, it just moved underground. The public's hunger for spectacle shifted to dogfighting and ratting, where dogs were tossed into a pit to see how many rats they could kill against the clock. This new hidden world demanded dogs that were powerful, but also rock-solid stable around people. Gamblers and handlers needed to get into the pit and handle their dogs without getting bitten themselves. So, in a strange twist, aggression towards humans was a trait that was actively bred out of these dogs. Any dog that bit a person was usually culled. It was these dogs, the bull and terriers, that eventually crossed the Atlantic with immigrants bound for America. And this is where their story splits, branching off into the distinct dogs we know today, and planting the seeds of the whole victim or villain debate. That single one-size-fits-all idea of a pit bull starts to fall apart when you look at the individual dogs. Each one was molded by different people for different reasons, taking them on wildly different paths away from their violent start. Number 1. The American Pit Bull Terrier, APBT. For a lot of purists, the APBT is the one and only true pit bull. Recognized by the United Kennel Club, UKC, this breed is the direct descendant of the fighting dogs brought to the US. In America, their job description exploded. They weren't just fighters, they were the ultimate all-around frontier dog. They worked as catch dogs for wild cattle and hogs, they hunted, and they guarded families and farms. Their smarts and desire to please made them more than just workers. They were companions. Even though they came from fighting stock, their fundamental temperament was people-friendly. This is the dog that became an American icon in the early 20th century, a symbol of working-class grit and loyalty. The APBT's story is the classic victim narrative. A dog bred for a brutal job, whose natural loyalty allowed it to rise above that past and become a trusted partner. The history of the American Staffordshire Terrier and the APBT are completely tangled up. They're basically cousins from the exact same stock. The family tree split in the 1930s when a group of breeders wanted to get away from the fighting world and get their dogs recognized by the American Kennel Club, AKC. The AKC, wanting nothing to do with dogfighting, agreed to recognize the breed, but only under a new name, the Staffordshire Terrier, which later became the American Staffordshire Terrier. From then on, AmStaffs were bred for the show ring and for companionship. Breeders focused on a stable, reliable temperament perfect for family life. While the APBT was still often bred for grit and performance, the AmStaff was being bred for good looks and a friendly disposition. This was a conscious decision by people to rebrand a breed, steering it away from villain and recasting it as a victim of circumstance, ready for a new, peaceful life. Hopping back across the pond to England, we find the Staffordshire Bull Terrier, or Staffy. Usually smaller and more compact than their American relatives, the Staffy shares the same bull and terrier roots. In the UK, however, its story took a sharp turn towards the domestic. Despite its fighting past, the breed became famous for its loving nature, especially with kids. This is where the nanny dog idea came from. Now let's be crystal clear. Modern experts agree the nanny dog is a dangerous myth, and no dog of any breed should ever be left alone with a child. But the nickname stuck because of the breed's historical reputation as a patient family protector. A 1971 New York Times article even called them nursemaid dogs. The Staffy's story really shows the contradiction in these breeds: a gladiator in the pit, but a total sweetheart on the hearth. It proves how much a dog's world, which is shaped by us, defines its story. Alright, we're about to get into some of the lesser-known but just as important family lines. From here, the story gets even more interesting. If you're finding this deep dive into the world of pit bulls valuable, do us a favor and hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. Comment below what you learned about these breeds. It really helps us keep tackling these big, misunderstood topics. Okay, so this next one isn't a separate breed, but a historic bloodline within the American Pit Bull Terrier. The old family red-nose, OFRN dogs, trace their roots back to specific strains of dogs from 19th century Ireland. These dogs were famous for their stunning copper red coats, red noses, and amber eyes. This unique look came from heavy inbreeding by Irish families, which made the recessive red color pop out. When Irish immigrants came to America, they brought these prized dogs with them. Breeders like William J. Leitner and Con Feely were key to establishing the line in the States. The OFRN line is like a living time capsule, a direct link to the earliest days of the pit bull in America. A victim not of fighting, but of preservation. It's a genetic snapshot of a specific time and place, treasured for its unique heritage. You can't talk about pit bull history without talking about the Colby bloodline. Started way back in 1889 by John Colby, this is one of the oldest and most important lines of the American Pit Bull Terrier in the US. Colby imported premier fighting dogs from England and Ireland and bred them with incredible care. His goal was a dog that was not only a champion in the pit, but also had an exceptionally stable temperament. One of his dogs, Colby's Pinscher, was so influential that he's in the pedigree of almost every APBT alive today. And fun fact, the original Pete the Pup from The Little Rascals was a Colby dog. This bloodline has a dual identity. While it's undeniably rooted in the villainous world of dogfighting, John Colby's focus on creating a stable, intelligent dog is what paved the way for the breed to become a family companion. The Colby dogs are a perfect picture of the breed's complicated victim and villain story. Now we get to a modern twist. The Razor's Edge bloodline, which kicked off in the 80s and 90s with creators like Dave Wilson and Carlos Barksdale, was a game-changer. They started with game-bred APBTs, but began mixing in other breeds like the American Bulldog, English Bulldog, and Mastiff. The goal was a new bully-style dog, shorter, wider, with a big blocky head, but with a much lower prey drive and a far gentler nature. These dogs were bred for one reason: companionship. This line became so different that it helped create a whole new breed, the American Bully, which is now recognized by the UKC. The Razor's Edge story is a modern tale of human choice, intentionally breeding away from the villain stereotype to create a gentle giant, a victim of its ancestors' bad rap, but the hero of its own story. Born in Los Angeles, the Monster G bloodline is another major branch on the American Bully family tree. It's genetically tied to the famous Gray Line strain, another foundational bully line. These dogs are known for a look that's both powerful and athletic, combined with a friendly and social personality. Just like Razor's Edge, the Monster G line was part of a movement to build a dog that had that impressive pit bull look, but left the aggressive tendencies of the original fighting dogs in the past. Bloodlines like Monster G are the final chapter in this story. A conscious choice by modern breeders to completely separate the dog's future from its past. They are the ultimate victims of the label, since they were literally designed to be companions, yet are often judged for the sins of ancestors they hardly even look like. So, after all that, what's the reality today? The villain story is mostly propped up by fear and scary statistics that almost always leave out key context, like the owner's behavior, training, and socialization. The victim story, on the other hand, is backed up by over 100 years of these dogs doing incredible things. They were American heroes, like Sergeant Stubby, a pit bull mix who became the most decorated war dog of World War I. He served in 17 battles, warned his men of gas attacks, and even captured a German spy. They were America's sweethearts, like Pete the Pup in The Little Rascals, who helped cement the breed's image as a loyal family dog for generations. Today, they work as therapy dogs, search and rescue dogs, and even police canines. But maybe the most powerful proof comes from science. According to the American Temperament Test Society, which puts dogs through a series of stressful situations, the American Pit Bull Terrier consistently scores high, with a pass rate of over 87%. Now that number can fluctuate a bit year to year, but to put it in perspective, that's a better score than many breeds everyone thinks of as perfect family dogs. While the test is about stability, not just friendliness, it's a powerful argument against the idea that these dogs are naturally unpredictable or aggressive. When you look at the full story, the answer to our question becomes pretty clear. Are they villains? No. History shows that even when they were bred to fight, biting a human was the ultimate disqualification. And the modern breeds and bloodlines have been intentionally bred for companionship. In almost every way, they are victims. Victims of a brutal history they didn't choose. Victims of bad owners who abuse them or train them to be aggressive. And victims of a single label, Pitbull, that erases their incredible diversity and condemns them all for the actions of a few. The history of these 7 lines shows us that a dog's story is never just about where it came from. It's about its journey, its purpose, and the people who guide it. That same loyalty and love for people that made them tough in the pit are the exact same traits that make them amazing companions in a loving home. The villain was never the dog. It was, and always has been, the people who failed them. What's your take? Have you had an experience with one of these dogs that changed how you see them? Share your story in the comments below. Let's keep this conversation going. And if this video gave you a new perspective, please share it. It's one of the best ways to help challenge the old stereotypes. Thanks for watching. Watch our other video next. Why are black dogs always the villains? See you in the next video.